Alright guys, in today's video we have some more PlayStation related news and information to go over and discuss. The first thing we're going to be talking about is Bluepoint Games and how apparently when it comes to their PlayStation 5 project, it's aiming to define the visual benchmark for next generation. They recently updated their website and they had a couple of things to say that certainly get me excited for what they're cooking up next, and I honestly can't wait to learn more about it, especially because all signs are pointing to it being a Demon's Souls remake. On top of that, we're going to be discussing how a survey recently conducted reveals that more developers are interested in making games for the PlayStation 5 than pretty much any other console, which is pretty exciting, I'd say, if you're a PlayStation fan. So we're going to discuss that. And we're also going to go over a new job listing that was recently discovered for Guerrilla Games that hints at one of two things. It hints at maybe the next Horizon game featuring a multiplayer mode, and if not that, it's lending more credence to the idea that Guerrilla Games has a second team that is working on a multiplayer-only title. So these are all the things we're going to be discussing. Before we go any further, if you think you're going to enjoy the video or find it informative, be sure to hit the like button. It really helps the videos out more than you guys know, and it's the easiest way for you to let me know that you do enjoy the content, and hit the subscribe button as well if you haven't done that already. But starting here with Bluepoint Games, it says Remake Masters Bluepoint Games is talking a very, very big game when it comes to its mysterious PlayStation 5 title. Through various comedic Twitter teases and comments published alongside fresh next-gen details and Wired articles, the Austin-based studio suggests that it is cooking up something hot. It's probably Demon's Souls, and with it, the developers aiming to define the visual benchmark for the next generation of gaming. The quote has surfaced by way of a refresh of Bluepoint Games' website, where it makes a tantalizing case to bring budding developers under its wing, from discussing its previous projects, including Shadow of the Colossus to Uncharted the Nathan Drake Collection, to explaining its culture. Sounds like a lovely place to work, although we're here to learn about the team's take on the From Software masterpiece. If this website refresh is anything to go by, Demon's Souls on Sony's next-gen hardware platform is going to be a real looker. While the project was always assumed to launch alongside the PS5 in late 2020, the quote continues to suggest that Demon's Souls will indeed be a launch title for the system, making it the largest title in the studio's history. So yeah, I know that this isn't the biggest piece of news or information in the world, but I'm not going to lie, it does do a pretty good job in getting me excited. You can tell Bluepoint, they've been talking for a little while now about this remake that they've been working on, and they've been calling it a reimagining, the biggest undertaking they've ever done, and they're pretty convinced that this is going to be easily the best remake they've ever done, and it makes me think that they're really going to go above and beyond in certain areas, to where even if it is a Demon's Souls remake, I've seen some people maybe be a little bit down on that because they're like, well, you know, it's an old PS3 game, and you know, do people really want that? But I think once people see it, they're going to be like pretty excited. I mean, I love the Dark Souls games. I'm a big fan of From Software, and I never did get to experience Demon's Souls. So the fact that this could potentially be one of the first games I get to experience on the PlayStation 5 is really awesome to me. I'm not going to lie. That is something I'm incredibly excited about. And when it talks about, you know, they're aiming to define the visual benchmark for next generation, makes me think just how good is this game going to look. And so something tells me it's going to be potentially the best looking game that we see. I know that may sound crazy. It really depends on what we see. I mean, if we see obviously like Horizon 2 revealed, then I think there's no doubt that's going to be the best looking game. But it's going to be interesting, guys. It gets me excited, and I can't wait to learn more about it. But moving on here, talking about more developers being interested in making games for the PS5 than any other console, says GDC conducted its 8th annual State of the Industry survey in the lead up to GDC 2020. Around 4,000 developers participated, sharing their thoughts on next-gen hardware and current trends. Notably, the survey results indicate that more developers are interested in making games for the PlayStation 5 compared to other consoles, namely the next Xbox platform and Nintendo Switch. Of the nearly 4,000 respondents, 50% are most interested in developing experiences for PC. There's an intriguing split where consoles are concerned, however. 38% expressed an interest in making games for the PlayStation 5, while 37% pointed to the Nintendo Switch, and only 25% find the Xbox Series most appealing. Though GDC notes the survey was taken prior to Microsoft's unveiling of the name last December, at present, these numbers do not correlate with the number of game makers actually producing titles on next-gen hardware. Only 11% of developers surveyed are currently working on a PlayStation 5 project. Meanwhile, 9% are developing for the Xbox Series. In terms of developer expectations, 23% said they'd expect their games to ship on PS5. 17% expect their projects to make it to the new Xbox. The latest state of the industry survey also inquired about another hot topic, which we're not going to discuss here because that's not relevant to the information we're going over here. But I have to say that this is pretty good news. I mean, some people are probably going to be a little concerned thinking only 11% of developers are working on next-gen titles, but you have to understand that right now with this is always how it is. Every time there's a new generation that rolls around, you have the older hardware, or the current hardware I should say, where there's an established install base. And so this is where you see the importance of things like exclusive games, where Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, their main goal is to drive hardware sales, and the better they do that, right, the more interest developers are going to have in bringing games over. But, make no mistake about it, there's going to be a lot of games brought over to PlayStation 5. I think what this is really saying is that when you survey developers, most of them are probably third-party developers. Their main focus is not just the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox. Most of these third-party games we know are going to be cross-gen. And so when they say that they expect to bring their games over to the PS5, that's what they mean. I think they don't necessarily mean they're developing games specifically just for the PS5 or the next Xbox. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. It gets me excited because the more interest you see from developers in bringing games over to a platform, the better it's going to be for that platform. And you can't blame them for being more excited for PlayStation, because when you see how well the PlayStation console sells, how much software they're able to move with it. If you remember those statistics that were revealed at CES earlier this month, I believe it was shown that for every PlayStation 4 console sold, there's almost 11 games that are sold with it, which is a really good attach rate. And that's where, honestly, in the industry, most of the money is made. And for developers who are making these games, that sounds extremely appealing. That's not to say that these developers are not even remotely interested in developing for the Switch or the Xbox, because obviously, you saw the Switch was only 1% behind at 37%. The Xbox was at 25%, and I would say that's, significantly less than where the PlayStation is, but it makes sense if you think about it. All around, though, seems that developers love developing for games for PC. So PlayStation has yet to top that. But finally here, we're going to be talking about this job listing. It says, Guerrilla Games has been silent ever since its critically acclaimed release of Horizon Zero Dawn. The one-of-a-kind game was so well received that producer Angie Smets, hopefully I'm pronouncing their name correctly, essentially confirmed a sequel, and the developer has a myriad of job openings that strongly hint Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is in the works. However, one listing suggests that Guerrilla might be developing a new installment of their oldest IP instead, Killzone. The Sony subsidiary is looking for a game server engineer who will work on a systems like matchmaking, tournaments, clans, and leaderboards. This sparked a flood of speculation this week that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 might feature a new multiplayer experience, but it's very likely that this position would be part of a Killzone 5 team. Don't worry, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is almost certainly still happening, but don't be surprised if a new Killzone is announced first. Killzone 5 has not been confirmed, but Guerrilla made two big hires in 2018 that suggest it's putting together an FPS dream team. Simon, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce their last name because I'm going to butcher it, I'll just call him Simon L., joined the company in February of that year after 8 years at Ubisoft, where he worked on shooters like Rainbow Six Siege. Simon L. was the senior designer for Killzone 2 between 2006 and 2009, so he'd already be familiar with the series. Guerrilla then hired Chris Lee in October 2018, who worked on Rainbow Six Siege with Simon L. at Ubisoft. Both developers state that they're working on an unannounced title on their LinkedIn profiles, which may be a new Killzone to coincide with the upcoming release of the PlayStation 5. So, yeah, I wanted to go with this article specifically because it does remind us of these two hires that happened in 2018 that heavily hint at Guerrilla Games having a second team, which it's pretty much all but confirmed at this point. And especially when they mention their LinkedIn profiles here, they're working on an unannounced title, and you know their specialty is in shooters. And so I think it's likely we see one of two things happen here. I don't think there's going to be multiplayer in Horizon. There might be, but I don't think that's what this is specifically for, and I don't think that Horizon is going to be coming out within the first year of the PlayStation 5 being out on the market. I actually think it's going to come out a little bit later. I could be wrong on that, but I think there is either a new Killzone or a new SOCOM game. You guys know, for those who've been following this channel for a little while now, we have been talking about the rumors that have popped up about a new SOCOM game being in the works, and I think it's very likely to happen. It's just the big question is who is going to be developing it. I mean, when you think about Guerrilla Games, it does just make sense that they would want to continue Killzone, but could we see Guerrilla Games making a SOCOM game? And more importantly, could we see them kind of doing their own take on it by making it a first-person game? I've seen a lot of SOCOM fans say that that wouldn't really go over well with SOCOM fans because it's a third-person game, and if it was first-person, it just wouldn't feel like SOCOM. But there's no doubt in my mind that a SOCOM game is being worked on. I'm honestly more skeptical of a Killzone game. It does make sense, though. Like, it would make sense for Guerrilla to have a second team to do something with Killzone, because there's a lot of Killzone fans from what I've seen, and people really do like that series, so I don't think they'll put that to rest. It's just, it makes you think, you know, if Guerrilla's doing Killzone, does that mean we're not going to get a SOCOM reboot? And if we get both, who's going to be doing the SOCOM reboot? We saw that leak that mentioned that Sony's San Diego team, they have another team that's being built. They're the ones that are going to be doing it. That's a possibility, but I just don't know how likely that is. But either way, it's pretty clear that Guerrilla Games has a second team that's working on some type of shooter. It's going to be multiplayer related. We're just going to have to wait to see what it is. And so with that being said, I want you guys to let me know down below, what would you rather see? A new SOCOM game, like a SOCOM reboot from Guerrilla Games, or would you like to see another Killzone game from Guerrilla Games? And also let me know your thoughts about Bluepoint's next project and them saying it's going to, you know, they're striving to make it the visual benchmark for next gen. And let me know how you feel about more developers wanting to make games for PS5 than any other console. I will be interested to see what you guys have to say. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload. And feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.